Hello everyone. I have no idea if you can hear me. So, if you can, please let me know. Let me know if I'm too loud or too quiet, or if the balance between me and the audio is fucked. Seth, kindly shut the fuck up. But apparently I am audible, so nailed it. I am totally good at this, don't worry about it. Alright, so the plan for this stream is roll a random ass character, with the input from chat of course. Set up the parts of that character within Foundry, the VTT that I always use because it's fucking amazing. And only sometimes fucks up. We're probably going to go for, say, a level 6 character? Let's do level 6. Then, with that randomly generated character, we are going to make a backstory, so that the random ass elements of the character make sense. And then if there's time left and if the character is not completely demented, we're going to find a place where we could put it in, either my world or just a world. So then, let's get started. So, starting with, well, when we have a character, we should probably start with, what the fuck race are they? Now, with race, I was thinking we could go off the options and results within the reincarnate spell. And then add random options based off chat. So let's start with just quickly typing out the options of reincarnates into my little notepad here. So that one goes off a D100. 1 to 4 is Dragonborn. 5 to 13, Hill Dwarf. 14 to 21, Mountain Dwarf. 22 to 15 is a Dark Elf. Drow. Always some of my favorite. Then 26 to 34, High Elf. 35 to 42. The answer to the universe. Wood Elf. 43 to 46. The Forest Gnome. The very loud shouting was towards me. Because I have some things very nicely set up, so that I can very easily switch between scenes, which is very neat. It has the slight error of, if I hit that button, then it appears as if the stream has ended. So I'm going to have to type the numbers without hitting the num keys. I adore the num keys, so this'll be fun. This'll not be fun. Because I know exactly where the num keys are, then I can very quickly hit the right ones. So better point, I am seeing how quickly I can turn those hotkeys off. I can apparently not pause a num key. Alright, so testing if it's indeed off. Well, some shenanigans is still happening on my end, but it should be good for you. So continuing the copying over of stuffs. So we have half elf and then the fun half orc. Both are good, if both a bit on the bland side. Then in the 16th we have the Lightfoot Halfling. And the funny number and up is the Stout Halfling. And then a huge section of human. And then last but far from least, the Tiefling. Now, if the chat, aka Seth, aka my sibling, has any input, this would be the time to mention it. I am already know what input they are going to give. That would be a lizard folk. Because they have some weird obsession with the lizard folk. So what likelihood should we give that weird race? I mean, let's give it the same as other odd choices. So, 101 to 105, 204, will be lizard folk. Now, let's give it a small amount of time for other people to join in, to give suggestions, while I start opening windows on Foundry to set things up for me. And hello to Fi. We are setting up a random character and then trying to make any sense of it. If you have any fun races you want to add to the list of races that they could be, please let it be known now. Oh, my bad, not just Fi, it is the Fi. Everyone scream in terror. for those that don't know what I'm currently doing, I am opening up compendiums in Foundry. A compendium is basically just a set of stuff you can load in. Some of it is official stuff. Well, some of it is SRD stuff, which is already set up by the people who make the 5e system. Other stuff you'll have to, well, I have to set up myself. So let's open up my classes in case we roll an artificer. Let's open up my subclasses. If we want anything other than the very bog basic subclass features that are in the SRD. And backgrounds, because it is unlikely we'll get an acolyte. And my own custom races, because the normal one also is rather limited. Ooh, the Warforged. Definitely one of the older ones. But let's add it. So 052008 Warforged. Any other things we need to set up? No, for now that is all I need here. And it turns out that apparently Vi's first character turned out to be oops, I accidentally made Karlak before I knew of Baldur's Gate 3. Which, you know, great minds think alike. Great minds think alike and all that. I can words. I can't even argue against that one with I'm dyslexic because this isn't spelling, this is just speaking. But I think that we have our races set up already. So, let's roll our D108. That's one of the very nice things about a VTT. You can roll dice that very don't exist. So, a 3, a 2, a 1, let's roll. I am an idiot. I did not roll a D108. I rolled 108. So, let's do that again. A 3, a 2, a 1. Let's see if it goes better this time. A 63. Which is a Lightfoot halfling. The legally distinct hobbits. Oh, and this one is actually in the SRD. So this one we can just port over. Now I'm doing a quick lookup of what the fuck the Lightfoot halfling was all about. The Lightfoot halflings are a hidden folk. Basically, they are the most hobbity hobbit. They also happen around other races, but primarily, well, if you think hobbits from the Shire and how they work, then you are imagining a Lightfoot halfling. And as Sif so very usefully pointed out, well, if you put them in magic armor, they count as a magic throwing weapon. Let's not do the advancement yet, since we don't know what stats will be important. So, we have a Lightfoot halfling to work with. Now then, next question. I want to say next question is background. But on the other, I also kind of maybe want to wait till we have some more viewers with input before we do background. So I guess the first person in chat gets to decide which one we do first. Currently chat is mostly very interested in making legally distinct versions of Bilbo Baggins. As in a Backbow Billings or a Beanbag Boilings. I don't know if the worst part is that I know that these terrible jokes are coming from people who are legally adults. Then again, I am legally an adult and, well, hasn't done a lot for me. Well, Fi is talking about backgrounds, so backgrounds it shall be. And apparently she has the favorite one of the haunted one. A background that is surprisingly well known despite coming from bloody Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. Which is far from a bad book. Ooh, I should have added some of the Van Richten racial options to the list. Oh well. But yeah, the Haunted One. Fun one from Van Richten's Guide. Now with backgrounds, I tend to largely only go with the stuff that's in the player's handbook. And you are absolutely correct, most people know the Haunted One from Van Richten's Guide. Don't know it from Van Richten's Guide, they know it from Baldur's Gate 3, because Baldur's Gate 3 is fucking huge! But yeah, other backgrounds are a bit more wonky. You can absolutely, I'm looking for suggestions. I'm going to probably throw in some backgrounds myself. The Haunted One is just the first suggestion, so that will be number 1. But yeah, I don't tend to go with too many of the other book backgrounds because, well, a lot of them tend to be a lot more tied to lore, and well, I don't go with the official lore because it doesn't work well for how I run my game, and in other campaigns it very often works even less. And we have a second suggestion. The Guild Artisan. So I'm currently doing a quick little scroll through what other fun options there are. That are in like stuff like the Baldur's Gate Noble, which is just the Baldur's Gate Artisan is Baldur's Gate Noble is basically just a noble, except you are tied to Baldur's Gate, a city that doesn't exist in most D&D worlds, I think. And correctify, currently we have only determined the race. I'm also not the biggest fan of some of the, some of the newer backgrounds tend to have a starting feat instead of a background feature. And I am a fan of a starting feat, except that the starting feat has this slight problem of that it's only one feat, while I prefer the you get a free choice of feat. And then also a largely only flavor background feature. So having a look through some other backgrounds. Oh, I think this could also be a fun one. The Fisher. From Ghost of Saltmarsh. Baldur's Gate is simultaneously the most famous D&D location and the least cared about. You're probably true, at least in name. I was thinking maybe another famous location could be like Menzo Berenzan, the drow city that Freys Dublin, the famous drow fighter from all the D&D books came from, and that all his adventures are part of, but you know, I don't think that he would be I think that's more niche than Baldur's Gate. Seth does also mention the towns, places of Waterdeep and Sigil. I think that Sigil is too niche. I think Waterdeep is probably the most famous location. Because it was the big city, if I remember correctly, in D&D Honor Amongst Thieves. And yes, our great hero could absolutely have a history of just being the local fisherman, which I absolutely adore. Our hero didn't come from great things. No, they were the guy you bought your fish from. Let's also add in the sage, because who doesn't love a nerd? We all love a nerd. This is D&D. Everyone loves their nerds. Is Hermit the one who... the old man yelling to get off your property? I mean, could definitely be. I think the hermit is more the crazy person who lives at the edge of town and shouts about how the end of the world is coming, the end of the world is coming. Let's also add in the urchin for... I know how to spell. The urchin for everyone's OC ever. And yes, Vi, that is absolutely the vibe that I would absolutely love for a fisherman. Just... I had my village destroyed when I was but a boy. I trained with monks for decades, honing my skills to get revenge. Oh cool, I catch fish, I'm traveling to find new fish. that discontinuity, that is one of the many brilliant joys of D&D. And yes, that is absolutely also the plot for many while playing Hades. Should we throw another one at it? Nah, D6 is plenty. Plus there is plenty more fun random stuff that comes out of background, so... Let's roll our D6. In a 1, and a 2, and a 3. A 4. We are getting ourselves a sage. Also one which I already set up. Well, that's making things easy. And the sage gets proficiency in Arcana and History. And 2 languages. Fuck, we don't know our languages before we know the character, so we can't set that one up either completely yet. Or at least, not throw it into the character. So, we have ourselves a nerd not hobbit. Yes, hobbit. We have ourselves a nerd hobbit. aka what everyone who's playing D&D is who's not from my country. Fuck you, I'm tall because I'm Dutch. So lastly then, we get the classes. So I'm thinking let's throw all the classes at this. With the question being, do we throw in sidekicks? Are we just basically creating Pike? What was Pike's last name? I watched the animated series of Critical Role. Why did I forget her last name? But was she a nerd? Alright, so no sidekicks, so 1. Artificer, the maker of the greatest of inventions. The barbarian, the strongest of all who can withstand the most punishment. The bard, the one that tells tales, sings songs, performs and inspires everyone to do the best they can. The cleric who worships a great god and derives power from it. The druid who does the same, but instead of asking a god for power, they get it from nature. And yeah, a cleric is basically a holy nerd. Except that they generally tend to know fuck all about their religion. Seth, I have to ask a very important question. Did you know Percival Frederickstein from Musil Klabowski de Rolo III from memory, or did you have to look it up? Either way, I wouldn't be surprised, but you know, his big sister. Those things should worry me. Where were we? Druid. And then we have the fighter. master of all weaponry. The monk, the master of fighting without weaponry. But also with weaponry, mostly the art of fighting without armor, which is also the barbarian. The master of ki, the master of knowing your own body and manipulating it, which, well, that's also the fighter. And also the sorcerer. Let's not worry about it. Well, thank the heavens, at least you had to look it up. You had to look up how to spell one of their names. Why can you remember that name but not other people's names? The paladin, who gets their power from their devotion to a god, an idea, a promise they made to their now dead mother after she was murdered by random strangers. The ranger, the ones who trek throughout the wilderness. The rogue, the masters of all things sneaky, or really just all things. Yeah, you're basically right. Monk, for when you want to have the power of anime on your side. Sorcerers, to whom magic comes innately. The warlock, who gets their magic not from careful study, but either reckless study, or somebody who blessed them with powers that no one should have. And the wizard, who gets their powers from being a massive nerd! Which are also one of my two favorite classes, probably. So, those are our 13 classes. Let's do the roll. And a 3, and a 2, and a 1. A 4. A cleric. Fuck, we really are just creating fucking pike, aren't we? I'm sure that will make something unique about them, surely! And yes, that's a relatively accurate summary of the classes. We have Gun, Angry, Hordy, God, Atrees, Kill, Anime, Smite, Shoot, Edge, Brat, Loon, and a Nerd. Alright, we are not completely doomed yet with this character just being fucking Pike. We still have a subclass to get to. And this is where we have so many fun options. So, let's just quickly talk through some of them and, well, yes, we absolutely need to have the life cleric and the war cleric, because, well, just fucking recreating Pike has to be an option at this point, because that would just be fucking funny. But we also can have options like the Arcana domain, who worship the gods of magic and are basically just what if cleric but wizard, or maybe what if wizard but cleric? Or the death domain, for when you worship a god of murder. Or the forge domain, which is basically just what if cleric but artificer, or what if artificer but cleric? Or the grave domain, which is basically what if you worshipped Hades, or what was the god just of death called in Greek mythology? Yes, the Arcana domain. For you really want to be Mr. Specialist Boy. That was a joke in Rolling with Difficulty, the podcast with well, that most people would be attracted to because it contains Red from Overly Sarcastic Productions. Thanatos, that was the god of just death. Or the knowledge domain, when you want to be a fucking nerd! Which I kind of want to put on the list as well, because, well, we already have a nerd. What if our nerd was a nerd? And yes, Seth has a shirt that says, Mr. Specialist Boy! I did say Red from OSP, right? Or the light domain. We just want to set people on fucking fire. The nature domain. What if cleric was a druid, or druid was a cleric? What was the other domain about again? Oh yeah, what if your cleric was a cop? So, which other subclasses should I add to the list? I want to get to 8 probably. The forge domain. When you want to make an artificer, but actually don't. I do also have all these other fun ones kind of ready to load in, like the water domain from Abyss. All beneath the yonder seas and streams. A book full of fun water spells, and water subclasses, and travel subclasses, and stuff like that. Community. I do have a community. What was their thing? Well, I guess we'll find out soon enough if we roll the community domain. Yes, halfling of the public domain. So I wasn't the only one who saw that short from... Oh god, what's that channel called? So here's the thing, or... And chat is making terrible public domain jokes. Our beautiful public domain cleric, our public domain halfling cleric named Steamboat Willie. And they're a nerd, so that they can tell you all the rules of the public domain. If I was into making fully meme builds, that would be a brilliant one. And the Night domain, also from Humblewood. Alright, that is a beautiful 8. So, let's roll it. In the 3, a 2, a 1. A 7. So we're getting a community domain. Which means that I can actually show off what you can do in Foundry with how you set up fancy subclasses and shit. So, for those that are here, or probably more likely rewatching this for the tutorial on how to set up like a subclass, I create a new entity, and I'm going to give it the right name. Community subclass. So, step 1, let's set up the correct details. The class identifier belongs to Cleric. And then we start to drag in, well, copy over, or no, we're totally just writing this down, don't worry about it. The vital information. And since I have no fucking clue what this subclass is about, let's also do a bit of reading, shall we? The community domain focuses on the ties that bind all people together. These are the ties of family and friendship, the ties to ancestors, as well as the ties between elders and the next generation with whom they share their wisdom. The power of the god of community is in the security of home and hearth, in the joy of good company. Many such gods teach the value of tradition and simple ways of living in harmony with the natural world. They also tend towards the rule of law, not as a kind of great bureaucracy, but as a sacred tradition passing from generation to generation. From gods, some gods advocate the removal of harsh or disruptive forces to disorder, and proper sanctions to the violation of the goodwill that any community ought to provide. Cleric of such gods value unity and praise the strength that can be gained when people support each other. This is the perfect halfling subclass for cleric. Because halflings are all about the friendly community, and well, this one is about the friendly community. And chat is talking about the TADC, and I have no idea what the fuck that refers to. It's probably a system that they know that I don't know. Where's the government domain cleric that worships money? I believe that one is called the order domain. The one that's all about law and stuff, and basically that is just it's the cop domain. Oh, the amazing digital circus. Yeah, suddenly those comments make an awful lot more sense. I have no idea how the fuck you would do a the amazing digital circus one shot, but good luck figuring that out, boys. I say that to people who are very not boys. Yeah, or the domain for when you want your cop to not be a paladin. I mean, technically, well, most classes lend themselves well enough to being a cop. Artificer for if you want your cop to be Inspector Gadget. Barbarian for when you want your cop to be American. Bard for when you want your cop to not really be a cop and more be one of those strippers you hire. Cleric for when you want your cop to also be American, but more in the overly religious sense. Fighter for when you want your cop to be bog standard. Monk for when you want your cop to be Jackie Chan. Paladin for if you want your cop to be well, what most people think of when they think cop class. Ranger for when you want your cop to be, I guess, also an investigator, like how Seth also said. Rogue for if you want your cop to be Sherlock or a dirty cop, or yeah, mostly those two, I think. Or an undercover cop. Sorcerer for if you want your cop to have become a cop by ways of nepotism. I guess same goes for Warlock. Wizard. I don't know how you would make a wizard into a cop. But anyway, we were setting up stuff. So, let's set up the domain spells. 2 columns, 6 rows. Let's set up the little header. And this is where this might get slightly annoying. Tables are slightly annoying. Ah yes, the Wizard Cup. The only one who actually understands what Ditchbatch is talking about. So, what spells does the community cleric get? And where is the SRD spells? So here's another very neat thing about Foundry. You can just drag things from one place into another and it'll create a link. Bless and Goodberry. Bless makes a lot of sense, as in the community supporting one another. Goodberry makes slightly less sense to me. I guess sharing good food. Eight, which is surprisingly pretty good. This is an interesting one. The community domain has a problem. One of the spells it gives is, at third level, is Heroism. Heroism is a first level spell. I think it makes more sense than a Goodberry. But that means that we'll have to find a second level spell in a bit that makes more sense. Anyway, Beacon of Hope. Spirit Guardians. Banishment, because what would a good religious community be without some banishment? Faithful Hound, hard to use, but works well enough. Mask Cure Wounds. And Telepathic Bond. There it is. And while maybe chat thinks about a good second level spell that fits with the community domain, I am going to do some HTML stuff because it also does this sometimes. Sometimes it loses all the visuals that you just saved. To fix this, don't worry, close it, open it up again. There it is. So this table doesn't exactly look brilliant. Suggestion, good choice. But yeah, this table doesn't look brilliant, so we're going to have to do some manual editing. So instead of immediately starting with the table body, let's start with a table head. And then here we end the table head and start the body. And let's also not make everything a paragraph. And once we are done with this, the table will look a lot nicer. Is that all of them? That is all of them. Sa. Ooh, warding bond. I think that one is even better. And there we go, much more compact domain spells. And let's quickly set this one up. Because you can just set up what things, the token of things. Do I have a nice little village token in this? I guess this one will probably have to do. This one maybe. Slightly too spooky, but oh well. But this is the advancement screen. And this one basically does all the fancy automating. So we're going to grant items, we're going to name the granting of items, domain spells, at first level, and we're going to give Bless, which is going to use Wisdom, and it is always prepared, as well as Heroism. And then we'll make another grant items, which is also domain spells, but this one is granted at third level. Which is Aid and Warding Bond. And I'm going to repeat this for all other spells. And then, when the character levels up, all of these are automatically added, so the player or DM doesn't have to worry about it, which is always very nice. It is however nice if I can fucking spell things correctly. Never assume that I can spell things correctly, because I fucking can't. But it would be nice. And apparently, Vi is setting up a Fallout game, in which Chef will also be playing. And they'll be playing as Florida Man! So you know, only sane things are gonna happen there. But that is the domain spell setup. So, let's move on to the next section, which is the first level feature. Let's give it a nice heading, and from first level you gain the ability to conjure a small flagstone hearth with a simple iron cooking pot whenever you rest. This hearth helps warm you and your companions and can be used to prepare healthy and nutritious meals on the road. If you or any friendly creature you may camp with would regain hit points at the end of a short rest by spending one or more hit dice, each of those creatures may choose to reroll one of their resting dice, taking the higher roll between the two. Additionally, you gain proficiency with cook's utensils. Here is another neat one. In Foundry you can just hover over something and it'll link it. I mean, you do need to have this one toggled, but then it just immediately links there, which is always very nice. And we can also, let's make a little folder within our class features for the community and domain. The subclass doesn't exactly start with a very powerful feature, but it's a fun one. And I guess it's mainly probably not strong because I'm very used to, at this point, a high level game. But at lower levels, if you have like 2 hit die, getting a lot more use out of every single one of those hit die could be very useful. Now for the real question, I'm pretty sure I know that there is a token that works really well for this. Can I find it? I guess this one wouldn't be too bad for the image of a hearth, but I really thought there was a nicer one for it as well. But considering I don't think I'll be able to find it, this one will have to do. And this is basically it is a class feature that basically has the activation cost of special, as in during a rest. And let's make this one automatically linked to it as well. So now I can just click here and it opens up that. And I can also show this. Because as part of Blessing of the Hearth, we get a tool proficiency. And the tool is cooking supplies. And we are also granting another item. The feature, a Blessing of the Hearth. So, second level feature. And I always forget how bloody front-loaded the cleric is. The Channel Divinity. Manifest Feast. Starting at second level, you may use your Channel Divinity to conjure a magical feast for the rough road ahead. By spending 10 minutes, you may create a number of delicious, well-prepared, yet simple food items equal to your wisdom modifier, minimum of 1. These food items will last up to 8 hours or until the end of a rest, and will never spoil. Eating food created in this way takes an action, provides whomever eats it with healing equal to 2d4 plus your cleric level, and can remove either the frightened or poisoned condition from that creature. It's an interesting one. It's not a... you need to set it up in advance, but then it's pretty good. Biggest problem I have with it is that it forces you to really focus on wisdom, which, you know, makes sense, but on the other hand, it's fun if you have options. It's really hard to make a cleric that's not focused on wisdom. Well, it's really possible to do that with a lot of other classes. Making a wizard that's not focused on intelligence isn't that hard. Plus, the entire subclass has not gotten a feature that's great to use, kind of to suddenly use. So here's another neat foundry feature. I can set up block quotes, kind of double block quotes, and then say damage 2d4 plus add abilities dot wiz dot mod. Oh, it's not plus mod, it's... how should I reference it? I believe it would be at classes dot cleric not levels healing. Well, I guess we'll have to see how I'll fix that. Wait, I think I might be able to quickly reference it via... No, that's not it. No, I don't know, fuck. But basically that's then setting up how much it will heal automatically. Meaning that you don't have to figure it out every time, you can just use it. It's just that I currently don't immediately remember how to reference how many class levels you have in something. But this is a class feature, it's a channel divinity feature, takes 10 minutes. And its target is special. And the feature itself lasts for 8 hours. And I guess you'll just have to keep track of it somehow. And then this one should be set to that it uses one channel divinity. But at least this one can be set up to use a neat icon. There we go, fancy food, manifest feast. And let's give this one at... Excuse me, where the fuck did that window go? Get back here, out. System, why are you being a bitch about it? And sometimes, because it's a computer, Foundry is a little bitch about it. Oh, that's why. It's the same problem of changes are not saved. And there we go. Channel Divinity, Manifest Feast, that's second level. And then at 6th level, another Channel Divinity. Community Watch. So, let's have a little read what this one does. Starting at 6th level, you can use your Channel Divinity to instill a feeling of vigilant protection in you and your allies. You grant yourself and a number of allies up to your Wisdom modifier, a boon from your deity. Allies must be able to see you and be within 30 feet to receive the boon. Once per round, a creature benefiting from this boon can roll a d6, adding the result to a skill check, saving throw, or attack roll. This effect lasts for a number of rounds equal to your Wisdom modifier. A creature can only benefit from this effect if it can see at least one of its allies. Now this is a really neat one, as it just gives a nice bonus to everything you roll for a number of rounds. Though once again, sadly, really Wisdom dependent. But at this point it's clear, well, no, I'm still not too happy about that, because it means that you can't... you have to rush a high Wisdom modifier to get the most out of the class. It's the same problem I kind of have with the Artificer. Because there are features you can use intelligence amount of times, and they give you your intelligence score as a bonus. Which means that if you aren't rushing intelligence, you're basically doing it wrong. So I set up the d6 to be a rollable one by basically just doing a very simple, within the block quotes, -r as in -roll d6. And then I can just click it and it rolls. So, class feature, Channel Divinity. I believe this one was an action. Oh, it doesn't actually say if it's in action. But I believe that it should be in action, so an action it will be. And 2. Select odds allies. Because if I remember correctly, I can also do max 2 dash 0 dash 2. And it will give me 2. So now if your Wisdom modifier is at or below 1, it will always give you 1 Same here. Now here it just looks like 1 because it's not in a character sheet, so it's always 1. And I believe that here it doesn't quite like it if I try to... yeah, no, it doesn't like that. It has a 30 feet radius. Luckily here I can do it. And again it's going to use an achievement slot. It's going to use a channel divinity. And I can set up the other formula as well. So what I want this one to be is probably a lantern. And luckily a lantern I can find. And the updating broke again. But there it is, Community Watch leaked. And this one we give at 6 level. No, not Magnificent Feast. Community Watch. I'm sure that if this was an evil themed cleric, that it would be called Community Service. Divine Strike. When you gain the ability to infuse your weapons with the power to punish wrongdoing. Once on each of your turns, when you hit a creature with a weapon attack, you can cause the attack to deal an extra 1d8 psychic damage to the target. Visions of the evil they have wrought upon others flash before their eyes. You can choose whether any foe reduced to 0 hit points by this attack remains stable or dies. When you reach 14th level, the extra attack increases to 2d8. Ooh, fun, so this is where I get to also show off some other stuff. So, let's go to advancement, and let's say we add a scale value. A scale value is basically a thing that goes up with level. So in this case we're setting up a dice that scales. And this is going to be Divine Strike damage. At 8th level, this is 1d8. And at 14th level then increases to 2d8. And what this means is that in the community domain we set up a new feature. Divine Strike. And then we just say in it is other because it doesn't do an attack. We can simply say skill.community.divine strike damage, and that it does that amount of psychic damage. And now that will automatically go up. And then we also just put the text here because it makes things clearer. And if we put it like this, then it has the nice bonus of if we can just click on the 1d8 and it will pop up the damage window and we can roll it, and then it will say that it does damage and that it's psychic damage and give the options for applying the damage. But instead of saying 1d8 here, we can say that it does the divine strike damage. So now this could be clicked at any time when it's in the character sheet and automatically do the extra damage. And let's give it a nice token. What would be a good token for this? This one maybe? Nah, this one is a fun one for psychic, I think. And we give the Divine Strike feature at 8th level. And then after 9 levels of not getting anything from the subclass, it ends with Paragon of the People. At 17th level, your community watch grants an additional d6 to each affected ally. It also grants immunity to fear for the duration of the effect. Additionally, your magnificent feast produces twice as many foodstuffs, each of which can, when consumed, remove a single curse or disease affecting the target, including attunement to a cursed item. Very neat. Very cool. Instead of giving you a new feature at the end, it makes all your features better, which is a very nice thing to do. This is a bitch to set up though. I mean, it allows me to show off some neat features, but it's a bitch to set up. So, let's get over it. Community Watch grants an additional d6. And yes, F is definitely right. This cleric powers comes from the neighborhood WhatsApp group. So instead of this granting a d6, what this grants is another scaling feature. in this case it's community watch dice. At 6th level, it grants 1d6. At 17th level, it grants 2d6. And apparently Seth is making me lunch tomorrow, which is nice, thank you. So, what else is this feature doing? It also grants immunity to fear for the duration of the effect. That is also something I can set up. It's annoying to set up though. So, Paragon of the People with capitalization. I normally never do capitalization, but it makes things look fancy. So, Paragon of the People. Yeah, sure, big ol' muscles. Fit well enough. And then this one is... Community Watch. And this is via a module. I forgot what the module was called. The module is called Automated Inline Properties, I believe. Yeah, Automated Inline Properties. Which means that I can go Systems, is it Traits? Yes, Traits, Condition Immunities. Value at Frightened. So now when somebody has this temporary effect on them, they get the detail that they are immune to the frightened condition. And Magnificent Feast produces twice as many foodstuffs. So in this case it's... How many of these do you create? To create max abilities. These dot with dot modifier and 1. But we are not quite done yet, because yeah, that is space that should not be there, which is confusing things. What did I type wrong? It worked in another spot, right? Yeah, here it works, so what did I type differently? Does it prefer it if I do the one first? No, I did -R, which just confuses things. There we go. And then to add the Paragon of the People thing, we add another scale value, which is the Magnificent Feast multiplier, which starts at 1 and at second level increases to 2. Which means that it now says that you get your wisdom modifier with a minimum of 1 times the multiplier in treats. With no levels mean 0, but at level 2 you get 1. Alright, and that is the subclass setup. Which means that we can now start doing some of the fun stuff. So, background, Sage. So, step 1. What specialty is our halfling cleric? 8. Our cleric, confusingly enough, is a wizard's apprentice. But undoubtedly that's not where the weird stuff is going to end. Because let's roll some personality traits. Eight. So our cleric of the community is convinced that people are always trying to steal their secret. And in addition, well, this one makes a bit more sense. Our cleric is willing to listen to every side of an argument before making their own judgment. That one makes sense with them being a community cleric. But now for the parts where things are going to get completely buck wild. What is their ideal? Their ideal is logic. Emotions must not cloud our logical thinking. Oh no, why does that make sense? This cleric's community is conspiracy theorists. Thank you, Seth. I hate it. But what is their bond? Their bond is 4. My life's work is a series of tomes related to a specific field of lore. Oh no. It's their conspiracy board. This is good. And now let's see for their flaw. And, well, so far their personality and their bond is already rather flawed. Easily distracted by the promise of information. This is a mild problem. Our cleric is Our cleric is a conspiracy nut, it seems, or at least that's definitely one that makes a lot of sense. They are paranoid about other people and easily distracted. Oh no. So, shall we start filling in some details? Let's do a stat generator. I'm using it in another window. Let's just do point by. And we have a Lightfoot halfling, which means that they have a bonus to dexterity and charisma. So let's give them a base 12 in dexterity, giving them a total of 14 in dexterity after racial bonuses. Which means that they have get their nice +2 bonus too in medium armor. Now, let's give them a 15 in wisdom, because it helps them with being a cleric. Now I'm thinking maybe let's put a 13 in charisma. With the Lightfoot's halfling +1 in charisma, that will give them a +2 in charisma as well. Very nice for a cleric of the community. Now, maybe a 12 in intelligence. They are a sage after all, they're not. It would be weird if they were dumb. Now, as I'm currently looking at it, let's say maybe a 9 in strength to make them able to carry their armor at the very least and some of their stuff. Oh god, Seth, really? Wait, they're a wizard apprentice. Is the wizard a water-focused wizard named Den Shapiro? As in, fill their houses to who, bed? Fucking Aquaman! I don't want to make our nice, beautiful character a complete idiot. So I think this stats array is quite nice. 9 in strength, we're more dex focused. 12 in dexterity, 12 in constitution, 12 in intelligence, 15 in wisdom, 13 in charisma. Relatively middle of the road. But that changes once we throw our... Where did I leave it? Races. Halfling Lightfoot. Which means we get lucky, brave, halfling nimbleness, naturally stealthy. So now we get a much more nice spread of stats. Other than maybe though our wisdom is lacking for a cleric. So let's now add our nice background to it. The Sage. Arcana and History. And 2 languages. What are you thinking languages like? So, a nice community wizard was a wizard's apprentice, so I'm guessing that perhaps they were a part of totally not the Shire. But when a wizard came into town and set up their wizard's tower, instead of fighting them off, our nice little hobbit decided that, but what if I learned from him? I'm sure that he has useful information and interesting stuff to learn. So, what shall we make the language of our visiting wizards? I'm thinking on a 1, Elvish. On a 2, Gnomish. On a 3, Goblin. On a 4, Orc. Oh, perfect. The visiting wizard. The brutal, powerful, very smart orc. Now, what was the weird language that they used? On a 1, let's go on a 1, Abyssal. 2, Celestial. 3, is deep speech really something you can talk in? Deep speech isn't really a language for wizarding. Things that speak deep speech don't do magic. They have more they are magic, and they don't need components for their spells. So on a 3, Draconic. On a 4, Gif. That would be an interesting one. So 1, 2, 3 for infernal. Language of the not the demons, though that's abyssal. Of the devils. I need to write this down. Because it's too many of them. And I have no short-term memory. So 1 abyssal. 2 celestial. 3 draconic. Undercommon, it's an odd one. Undercommon is not really a... I don't think Undercommon is a magic language. Four. Give. 5. Infernal. 'Aquen, Orin, Ignan, Terran, Sylvan. Is there no... I don't have Primordial on this list, do I? No, I do, it's just I can't click it. Well, that's dumb, oh well. And I'm lazy in the typing, so this is Primal 1, this is Primal 2, this is Primal 3, and this is Primal 4. And 10 will be then Sylvan, the language of fairies. And let's roll the d10 and let's see if Seth gets their wish of Aquen, the language of water. It's a 5, meaning that a highly smart orc. It works first in the language of the highly ordered devils. And they are a researcher. And then this incredibly confusing class is also a cleric. Now, considering they are someone of the community, I'm thinking, well, it makes sense if they are proficient in insights and persuasion. And of course the standard stuff. And then the subclass, which grants them proficiency in cooking supplies, and yada yada yada. And at this point, I will be right back after a short toilet break. And we are back. So, we have our cleric. Our cleric, the wizard's apprentice, who is only a little bit kind of paranoid. Now at this point there is only, well, not even the spells to pick out because cleric, and they can just prepare their spells. No, the one thing that's only that's left is, well, if we are going to get them to, I say, level 6. And I like average health. So they get their Channel Divinity, their Turn Undead, their Magnificent Feast, and at level 3, more spells! But there's the fun one. So, we have an odd score. Our wisdom is a 15. So, and our only other odd score is in strength. I guess I could have put that in intelligence. And so we could either put that low score in intelligence and then take an ability score improvement. One in intelligence and one in wisdom, to give us a wisdom of 16 and intelligence of 14, making us smart and wise. Or at least smarter and wiser. Or we could take a feat. So, quickly looking through the feats that include a wisdom bonus, because that's the one that we need. We have things like telepathic, well, that doesn't fit. Telekinetic, also not really, we're not psychic a lot. Skill expert, don't really think so for this character. Same with Shadow and Fey Touch, after all. It's not that we got what's it called, the like we got Sylvan as our fancy wizard language. We could take the chef feat, which fits with the community element, but it also gives us cook's utensils, which we already have. Otherwise, there is observance. We could take Gift of the Gem Dragon, but, well, Draconic was also not our weird language. Which means that the only feat that would really make sense is Observant. Which I think doesn't work great. So I say let's instead change the strength from a 9 to an 8 and boost our intelligence from a 12 to a 13. And then we get ourselves our smart and wise wizard, cleric. And look, everything set itself up very neatly. And that's why I really like Foundry. So, setting up the backstory. I'm thinking something like this. Was an active member in their halfling community. When an orc wizard moved into the area, instead of avoiding them because, oh no, orcs, they are scary, they tried to work with them and they learned a lot from the experience. When the clan of the wizard came knocking, they put up a defense with the rest of the community to defend the orc who the clan was against for studying instead of raiding. And by this act, they were chosen by the community's god. In the end, the wizard gave themselves up to protect the community. Now, our halfling is setting out on an adventure to get their friend and, well, who knows what else they might be to them back. I think this is a very interesting and fun character. A fun character who is a cleric of the community, who brought someone into the community who was an outsider. And when a threat came, they tried to protect them from that threat. And were blessed with powers because of that heroism, because of that leadership they showed, because of how they championed the community. But in the end, somebody else who put the community first, the person in the community who they tried to protect, gave themselves up. And now they are trying to save that member of the community. I think that's definitely an interesting story to take. This is, looking at it now, actually a character I would not be opposed to playing at some point. It's a strange character, a weird combination of things, but I think it's really interesting. You can take this in a number of fun directions. And this stream was not nearly as fast as I hoped it would have been, so yeah, at the start I thought, oh, maybe we'll set up another character. It's midnight. So yeah, that'll be the end of the stream tonight. This was fun though, so I might do it again tomorrow. So maybe see you then. This has been Phoenix, saying farewell.